Hey there. I'm super excited about our topic today because this is something that I work on in a really intimate way with the teachers who take my programs and who mentor with me. And I'm excited to bring this conversation into our wider public sphere. So I have two sort of related questions from our community that I'll read to you and then share my thoughts. So the first question is from Elaine, and she says, I'm overwhelmed by all the information available for teachers. I love to learn, so I sign up for emails and videos and courses and blogs, and then become overwhelmed by all the information coming in. So much of it is interesting and pertinent, but I don't have time to read and listen and watch it all. And then she adds, but I always make time to watch your info, though. Thanks for all you share with us. And thank you, Elaine. This is a really great question. And I think one that a lot of people feel that we don't talk about enough. And then related, I got this question from Kristen. She says, I've been teaching for a year now, and although I'm constantly seeking out continuing education, whether it's anatomy or sequencing or something similar, sometimes I feel like I'm untethered and floating out in space when it comes to guidance. At certain times, I wish I had a mentor that I could turn to or bounce ideas off of. What do you recommend? So I see these as being very related, actually. And so let me start here. With the widespread use of the internet and social media, there is this unbelievable amount of information available to all of us all the time, and much of it is free. And it's this really incredible resource that in a lot of ways we're really lucky to have. It can, of course, be overwhelming to have access to so much information. It's overwhelming, I think, for a couple of reasons. One is it's just too much to be able to digest all at once, and we'll get back to that in a minute. But the other thing is, I think it highlights for us sometimes things that we don't know, or things that we haven't thought about, or things that are counter to what we've been taught. And I think that's great because, I come from a philosophy of teaching that we should always be in question. We should never, nothing is ever solid, right? And what I say about any kind of solid answer that we do come up with, it's a placeholder until we figure out a better and deeper question to ask. So I think it's important to be in question. I think it's important to have access to information that's new, but that can be exciting. And I think it can also be really scary because we start to realize more and more how many amazing, smart people there are out there and how they are such experts in this or they're experts in that. And I don't really know that much about that. And it can bring up all this insecurity. I think before the internet, people used to just teach what they taught, learn and study as much as they could, and kind of do their thing. And there was a little bit more blinders on. But now you can see what everybody else is doing all the time. And so I think that it can bring up this insecurity in people. The other thing is that, yoga is this inherently unknowable, unpin downable subject. And so I think it makes sense that the reaction to that, first of all, is discomfort and fear and overwhelm. But the other piece is it's like, well, okay, I need to study more. And that's not untrue. You do need to study more. You do need to study more anatomy and more biomechanics and anything that interests you. You want to study Ayurveda, that's an incredibly beautiful practice. You want to learn more about, the Buddhist teachings, that's a beautiful practice. Like whatever you're drawn to, you should be studying, and you do need to study more. That is true. But I think part of the reason people want to gobble up trainings and courses and blogs and podcasts is because they're looking for something that's going to make them feel more confident in their teaching. And while on one hand, studying more and having more depth of information will certainly help, I don't think it gives people the solid feeling that they're looking for, because I actually think that solid feeling that we're looking for doesn't really exist. What does exist is a confidence and a clarity about what is important to you as a teacher. And I think that depth that arises in our teaching comes not from collecting information from gurus, which don't exist, But it comes from inquiry, being in inquiry and being in relationship. So, if you're finding yourself overwhelmed by the amount of information, or you feel untethered and ungrounded by how much you still have to learn, this is what I recommend. One is you could almost think about continuing education like you do about food. If you can't digest it and it's going to make you sick, there's no reason to consume it right now. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by the deluge of information, just pause it. Unsubscribe from newsletters. Don't buy that next training course. Like, what you might need to feel better in your teaching might not be right this minute more study and more information. What you might need is support and inquiry and a relationship that helps you digest what you've already studied and what you've already learned. So, like Kristen mentioned, a mentor relationship can be extremely beneficial in helping you digest what you've already learned, integrate what you've already learned, deepen and clarify that information, and feel more confident in sharing that information. It can be so isolating to teach yoga. You kind of are studying and reading and playing around on your mat and then going to class and teaching and thinking it's going pretty well, but you're not sure. And it can have this very untethered feeling. So when you have someone to talk to that can reflect back to you, maybe someone a little further along on the path, you can share about your experience of teaching, or you can talk to about the drama at your yoga studio that you don't really have anybody else to talk to. When you have a supportive mentor by your side that can reflect back to you what they see, it can help you. It's not that they're going to tell you, do this, do that, although they might, but they might help you clarify what's important for you. And I really think that clarity in what we care about, how we're going to prioritize, how we're going to integrate the information we already have, really isn't something we can do alone. I think that has to be something that happens in the context of a relationship. And a mentor relationship is a wonderful place for that. If it's someone who, like I said, is a little bit further along on the path or a little bit more experienced in one area, then it's a beautiful container within which to explore the information that you already have, digest it, integrate it, and have it come out of your mouth in your teaching in a more clear and more confident way. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by all the information available, one, check in with yourself and see, why are you consuming all of this? Is it because you're excited and curious, which it could be? Or is it because you're trying to make yourself feel more confident about your teaching? And it could be a little bit of both. But in any case, if you're overwhelmed, just pause. Don't consume any more until you've had a chance to digest and integrate. And if you're struggling to digest and integrate all the information you have, like if you feel like you know so much more than you're able to really share in your classes, it's because it's not integrated into who you are yet. Then I really suggest that you reach out to someone who could be a mentor to you and use that relationship and the inquiry that comes with that relationship to find more clarity and confidence in your teaching. So I hope that that's helpful. I'm really curious to hear how this lands and what follow-up questions you have for me, and I can't wait to connect further. Bye for now.